Yesterday, the Senate confirmed John Ring to the National Labor Relations Board. Now the NLRB is once again fully staffed and ready to call balls and strikes fairly for America's workers. This morning, we confirmed Patrick Pasella, the President's highly qualified nominee to fill the #2 job at the Department of Labor. Mr. Pasella brought a sterling reputation and an impressive resume. It includes time at GSA, the Small Business Administration, the Department of Education, the Federal Housing Finance Board, and OPM. Even with 8 years as the Assistant Secretary of Labor for Administration and Management, and 4 years as a Senate-confirmed member of the Federal Labor Relations Authority, this dedicated public servant saw his confirmation process play out in a manner that's become all too familiar. Months of waiting on the Senate calendar. Months of obstruction by our Democratic colleagues. Months of needless vacancy in this critical agency position. After this morning's vote, Mr. Pasella can finally get to work. But the same story of obstruction applies to the next nomination on the slate as well. Andrew Wheeler is ready and waiting, and waiting, and waiting to clock in as the Deputy Administrator of the EPA. His qualifications are beyond question. He has won the support of the American Farm Bureau Federation and has won praise from both sides of the aisle. Mr. Wheeler's former boss, our colleague Senator Inhofe, says, quote, "There's no one more qualified," Senator Inhofe. Our former colleague, Senator Lieberman, has called Mr. Wheeler fair and professional and said, "I hope his nomination will receive fair consideration by the Senate." Now, Mr. President, delaying key executive nominees does not come cost-free to the country. The Deputy Administrator is the EPA's Chief Operating Officer. He plays a major role in protecting America's air and water while minimizing unnecessary obstacles for workers and job creators. The American people deserve to have him and other key officials in place. I mentioned yesterday that our Democratic colleagues are literally setting records. Just 15 months in, they've chosen to force, now listen to this, 84 cloture votes on President Trump's executive and judicial nominees. 84. That's more than 3 times as many nominee cloture votes as happened in the first 2 years of President Obama, President Bush, and President Clinton combined. 84 cloture votes is more than 3 times as many cloture votes as happened in the first 2 years of President Obama, Bush, and Clinton altogether. Many on nominees who were then confirmed nearly unanimously. I hope these stalling tactics will end soon because the personnel business isn't going anywhere. Today, in fact, CIA Director Mike Pompeo is appearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for the first time as the President's nominee for Secretary of State. He's yet another qualified nominee who deserves fair and swift consideration for our country's sake. For now, I meant what I said on Monday. We'll remain in session as long as it takes to process this week's slate of nominees. After Mr. Wheeler, we still have 2 judicial nominees, Rebecca Grady Jennings for the Western District of Kentucky and John Brooms for the District of Kansas. One way or another, the easy way or the hard way, this Senate will get the people's business done this week.